2 of MA semester first. Yesterday we completed the character of Franklin. Today we would be talking about the portraits of the guildsman as has been characterized by the great poet Chaucer. Before I begin, let me talk about the background of the guilds, which played a very vital role in the economy of the country. You must have heard about Gupta age. Even in the Gupta age, the guilds played a very vital role and they were known as Shrenis. Although the structure that was there of these guilds in England was different from the structure of the guilds that was there in India, but basically the task of the guild was the same. They influenced the economic life of the people. There were the guilds of the artisans, there were the guilds of the bankers, and there were the guilds of the other people. Now, here the poet has talked about the guild of artisans, and these artisans, he says, belong to the same company, means belong to the same guild. Now, among these guilds men, there was an haberdasser and a carpenter. The poet says that among these guildsmen there was a haberdasser and a carpenter. Haberdasser, you must be aware, is a shopkeeper who sells the tiny items like the needles and the other things. Carpenter, a weaver, there was a weaver also, there was a dyer also, dyer who used to dye, and a tapestry maker. And they were clothed all in old livery, and the poet says that they belonged to the same company of a solemn and great fraternity. They were of a simple and great Paris guild. Means it was not a very tiny guild. It was although the guild of artisans, but then it was a very great guild. Full fresh and new her gear, a piked bows. Their equipment was all adorned freshly, and they were all new. What were all new? The equipment were all new. Their knives were chapped not with brass. And now look at the affluent position, how the poet has tried to convey the affluent position of these guildsmen have been very beautifully conveyed, not directly but indirectly by the poet. What the poet says, her knives were chipped not with brass. The poet says that their knives were not mounted with brass, but they were mounted with silver. Their knives were not mounted with brass, but they were mounted with silver, but all with silver wrought full clean and veil. And they shone, they were very neat, and they shone very brightly. Her girdles and her pouches ever deal. Her means there. As far as their belts are concerned and their purses are concerned, they were also of a very good quality. Well seemed each of him a fair burgess. Burgess means citizen. And then the poet says that all of them seemed to be a solid citizen. Fair, fair citizen. To sit in Eldon Hall on a days, and everybody was so qualified. They were so qualified as to sit in on a days in a city hall. means they all commanded respect from the society, average for the wisdom that he can, and every one of them was appreciated for the wisdom that he possessed, was shapely for to being an elder man. And the poet says that as far as the wisdom of these people is concerned, they could be elevated as counselor of the town. Elderman is the position or was supposed to be equal to a counselor. For cattle had they enow and rent. Now they were very affluent, and as you know, during those times, the income of a person was measured in terms of cattle, and therefore the poet says that they had enough cattle, and then their sources of income were enough, and eke her wives would it well assent, and this was assented to even by the wives of these people. Even the wives of these people would admit that they were quite affluent, and they did have that they did have enough possessions, they did have enough sources of income. And eke her wives would it well assent, and they'll certain were they to blame. Otherwise, otherwise they would certainly blame them. Means if these people would not be earning, the wives would have certainly blamed that they do not have enough possession. But even the wives were of the opinion that they did have enough possessions to while away their living. And else certain were they to blame, it is full fair to be an eclipsed maiden. Not only the guildsmen, but in even their wives. They commanded respect from the society, and they were called these people. Means these guildsmen will call them my lady. Each one of them would address them as my lady, and gone to vigils all before, and they would go on feast on holidays, and they would go in a procession. In a procession, they would go in a procession. Means whenever there used to be a holiday, they would proceed on feast, and that feast would always be in a proper procession, and have a mental rollick ebor, and they have a gown, and they have a gown that was royally trained. Now this was the character of the guildsman, or the characterization of the guildsman, which I have talked about so far. Now among these people there was a haberdasser, there was a carpenter, there was a weaver, there was a dyer, there was a tapicer. These are the five guildsmen which have been talked about by the poet as a part of the guildsman. As I said, that the guilds played a very vital role in the economic life of the country. Now, after having talked about the character of these guildsmen, I would be talking about the next character, and the next character is that of the cook. Although a commoner, but he has been given a very respectable place in the prologue. A cook they had with him for the nonce. For the nonce means for the occasion. Nonce means the occasion. A cook they had with him for the nonce to boil the chickens with the merry bones, and powder merchant tart and garg and galing gale. Well could he know a draught of London ale. He could roast and set and broil and fry, maken mortex and well bake a pie. But great harm was it, as it thought me, that on a sign a mormal had he, for Blake Manger that made me with the best. Now the poet says that there was a cook also on this occasion. On this occasion means when they were going to the Canterbury, they did have the company of a cook also. A cook they had with him on the occasion to boil the chickens with the Mary bones. And what was the task of this cook? The cook would boil the chickens with the marrow bones and tart powder, merchant, and galingale. Now, these are the spices that he would make use of while boiling the chickens and the marrow bones. Spices. Spices included the tart, the Ponton Marchant, and galingale. Well could he know a draught of London ale, and the poet says that he very well knew how to judge a draught of London ale. Draught of London ale means the ale or the wine that was supplied through the cascade and not in the bottles. Means he could very well imagine what was the quality of the ale that would come in cascade from London. Well could he know a draught of London ale. He could roast and saith and broil and fry. Now the poet is talking about his abilities. What were the abilities? What were the things that he could do? He knew how to roast, how to boil, how to broil, and how to fry. He knew four things. Remember, he knew how to roast, he knew how to boil, he knew how to broil, and he knew how to fry. Macon, Mortex, and whale bake a pie. He could also make stews, and he could also very well bake a pie. But great harm was it, as it thought me. But then the poet says that it was a great harm for the cook, as it seemed to him. And what was that great harm? That on his sign a normal had he. The poet says that he had an open shore on his sin. This is chin, Chin. He says that there was an open shore, Sore, मीन्स उसकी जो ठुड्डी थी एक तरह से कह रहा है कि वो धंसी हुई थी. For Blake Banger that made he with the best. As for white, as for white pudding, he made that of the best quality. The poet says that he was a master of pudding also, means he would very well prepare the pudding. Pudding, you must be knowing, is a sort of delicacy, it is a sort of dish. After having talked about the character of the cook, now we are not aware why has the poet elevated such a position, has accorded such an elevated position to the cook, because cook otherwise belongs to the lower strata of the society, but since this cook was familiar with all the people and all the people of the company respected him so much, that is why the poet says that I have given him an elevated place. After having talked about the character of the cook, the poet is talking about the character of the shipman. A shipman was there boning for by west. Now the poet says that there was a shipman also in their company, and he was dwelling far in the west. He came from the west, West. For aught I would, he was of greater mouth. The poet says that I very well know that he was from the town called Dartmouth. Dartmouth. Now look, how does the poet try to make the description very realistic? The poet says that I have seen him and I know him. I know his original place also, and this place was the town of Dartmouth from where he came. Now, these are the realistic devices. These are the devices through which the writer is trying to make the description look realistic. He rode upon a round sea as he could. He rode upon a round sea. Round sea means he rode upon a cart horse. He rode upon a cart horse. Round sea means cart horse. As he could means as far as I know, he was riding on a cart horse, in a gown or folding to the knee, and then he was wearing a gown. He was wearing a gown that reached to his knee, that reached to his knee. A dagger hanging on a lass had he, and then he did have a dagger also that was hanging, that was hanging on a cord. Lass means cord, rassi, that was hanging on a cord about his neck under his arm adorn. And the poet says that was hanging about his neck down his arm. The hood summer had made his hue at brown, and then the poet says that it was the hot summer that has made his hue means color brown, and certainly he was a good fellow. And then the poet concludes that I can say without doubt that he was a good fellow in our company. About his a dagger hanging on a lass had he, about his knee under his arm adorn. The hood summer had made his hue all brown, and certainly he was a good fellow. Full many a draught of wine had he drawn, about his neck under his arm adorn. The hood summer had made his hue a brown, and certainly he was a good fellow. Full many a draught of wine had he drawn. He had drawn very many a draught of wine. Means he used to drink a lot of wine, and certainly he was a good companion. Fro Bardoc's bard will that the chapman sleep. Now the poet says that he would drink a lot of wine while traveling from one place to the another place when the other merchants used to sleep. When the merchants used to sleep, he would drink. Of nice conscience took he no keep. He had no concern for scrupulous conscience. Nice means scrupulous, means this is good or bad, he will not bother about that, means he will go by the pleasure. That is, he would not bother about the fact. What was the fact? The fact was that he should not have taken drink on the ship, but then he will not bother about the conscience. He will not bother about what the rules or what the scrupulous conscience would say. If that he fought and had the at the higher horn, and very often he will fight and he would say, I don't bother about these matters of conscience, and very often he will win at the end. By water he sent him whom to every land. He sent them home by water to every land. To whom? To whom? He will send wine to everyone by water, but of his craft to reckon well his tides. But he was very well skilled as far as the reckoning of the tides are concerned. The reckonings of the tide means the income, his streams and his dangers him besides. Now he also knew the current of the water and the perils that he is going to have when he will have a particular type of current of water. His Herbu and his moon, his lordman is, now he knew all the harbors. Herbu means harbors, ports, and position of the moon and the navigation also. The poet says that he knew everything because this is what he was supposed to know. Darnus, noon switch from Hull to Carthage, and then the poet says that there was not such a skilled shipman from Hull to Carthage, and Carthage means Spain. Hardy he was and wise to undertake. He was very bold and prudent in his undertakings. With many a tempest had his beard been shake. And then the poet says that his beard was shaken by many a tempest. He knew all the heavens as they were. He knew all the harbors and he knew how they were. From Gotland to the Cape of Finest, from Gotland to the Cape of Finisterre. Now these are the name of the places, and every crike in Britain and in Spain. And he knew every inlet in Britain and Spain. Inlet means the place where the people could stay, where the shipmen could stay. He knew all the places. His barge clave was the Magdalene. Now you need to remember this, and then the poet says that the name of the ship that he would carry was Magdalene. Maudelyne. After having talked about the shipman, why does the poet talk about the shipman? Because the trade was gaining prominence, export and import was gaining prominence, and this is how even the class of the shipman has come to occupy a very elevated place. And that is why the poet has included even the shipman in among the characters who were going to Canterbury. Now here the question arises, and the question is that when Chaucer is talking about the cross-section society, he must have talked about almost every character that he has not done. Now you see, as a poet, Chaucer did have its limitations, and simply it was a prologue. So what he has to describe, he has to talk about only those classes, even from the whole society, who in a way was very prominent and represented or affected the interest of the society in toto. And that is why even the shipman has been depicted. After having talked about the shipman, the poet talks about the doctor of Fiji. Means there was a medical doctor also. With us, there was a doctor of Fiji. The poet says that there was a doctor of medicine also. In all this world, he was the known him like. And then the poet says that in all the world, there was no one like him. To speak of physique and of surgery, as far as the knowledge of medicine and surgery is concerned, nobody could equal him. Nobody could excel him, for he was grounded in astronomy. And then the poet says that besides, he did have a good knowledge of astronomy also. He kept his patient a full great deal. And then the poet says that he took care of his patients and he would visit them several times in houses by his magic natural, and then he would visit them in the appropriate hours. And when we are talking about these appropriate hours, we mean the hours which were astronomically suitable, because he believed in the fact that even the astronomy does have a great impact on the life of the people. Where could he fortune the ascendant? And then the poet says that he could very well calculate the planetary position also. He could very well know the planetary position also of his images for his patient. Now, the planetary position he could very well imagine, and on the basis of that, he would give the talisman to the patients. He would not only give them the medical treatment, but he would give them the astronomical treatment also. He knew the cause of every melody. He knew the cause of every melody. Melody, melody means melody. Malady. Were it of food or cold or moist or dry. that whether that melody came into being because of the hot season or the cold season or moisture or the dry elements. He knew every cause of the melody and where they engendered and of what humor and where they were likely to engender. He knew that also, and which humor was responsible for their origin, for their generation, for their engenderment. He was a very perfect practicer, and then the quote says that truly he was a perfect practitioner. The cause he knew, and of his arm he the root. He very well knew the cause and the source of his harm also. And when we talk about the harm, that how could the patient acquire that melody, he could very well understand that. Anon he gave the sick man his boot, and then straight away he gave the sick man the remedy. Boot means the remedy. Psych man means sick man. Full ready had he is apothecaries, and his remedies were already. Apothecaries means remedies. To send him drugs and his lecheries, and he will send them drugs also and electuaries. Both the things he will send so that the sick man may get well soon. For each of him made other for to win. For each of them made the other to profit. Means every drug and every electuary that was sent to these people, that was given to these people, they were meant to benefit these people. Higher friendship, Nash not new to begin. And then the poet says that their friendship was not recently begun. Means the poet says that he knew this doctor of physic from very early times. It was not very recently that he knew him. Well knew he the old Asclepius. And then he talks about all these people. Means he's talking about all these medical practitioners and the astronomers. Well knew he the old Asclepius and Descodice and Rufus, old old Hippocrates, Haley and Galen, Serapion, Regis and Avison, Avrios, Demetian and Contastine, Bernard and Getestein and Gilbertine, of his diet measurable was he. Now you see again I would like to comment upon the realism of Chaucer's prologue. Now you see the poet is giving you every detail, even the names of the contemporary medical practitioner, and then he says that the doctor who kept company with them, he knew all these famous doctors of the time. For it was for his date measurable was he. Now the poet says that as far as his diet is concerned, he was very moderate, for it was of no superfluity. The poet says that it was never in excess, but of great nourishing and digestible. But the diet that he would take provided nourishment and used to be easily digestible. His study was but little on the Bible. The poet says that his study was little on the Bible. In sanguine and in purse he clad was all. And then he says he was clad all in red and in blue. He was clad in red and in blue, lined with taffeta and with sandal. And then he says that the dress that he was wearing, it was lined with taffeta and with silk, and yet he was but easy of dispense. And then the poet says that he was very moderate in his spending also. He kept that even in pestilence, and then the poet very ironically says that he would very well keep what he earned during the plague. For gold in physique is cordial, therefore he loved gold in special. And the poet says that since in medicine gold is a restorative for the heart. Now look at the irony. The poet says that since gold is a restorative for the heart, he would love gold in special. Means he was very greedy. He had earned a lot of money and he would keep all the gold that he had earned very well. And the poet has said it so well that it does not even strike the readers that the poet is saying it so ironically. After having talked about the character of the doctor of physique, we come to a strange, the character that we may not find in our life today. And through this character, the poet has tried to convey a message that corruption did not exist only in the church, but even the life of a common man was not free from corruption. And one such example is that of the wife of Bath. A good wife was there of beside Bath. The poet says that there was, Bath is the name of a town. There was a wife of Bath. Now look at the title that the poet had chosen for her. She was wife of the town. And thereby he is making it very clear that she was a harlot. She was a harlot, but she was some dull deep, and that was scathed. And the appearance also conveys the meaning. And the poet says, but unfortunately, she was a little deaf, and that was scathed, means that was a pity. The poet says that, but it was a pity that she was deaf. Of cloth making she had switch and haunt. Haunt means skill. The poet says that she had such a skill in cloth making. She passed him of a press and of gown. Now she surpassed them. Now, as far as the art of cloth making is concerned, she surpassed even the artisans who belonged to these towns, a press and gown. In all the Paris, wife knee was the noon. The poet says that in all the Paris there was no wife that to the offering before her should goon. Who would go on to offering before her means she would offer everything to the person who would come for begging. And if there was anyone, and if there was that she was out of whole charity, and if the dead certain so worth was she, and the poet says that nobody could excel her in offering, and if there used to be anyone who tried to excel her in offering, she would get angry and she would give everything that belonged to her, that belonged to her in charity. That she was out of whole charity, her cover chiefs full fine weren of ground. Now the poet says her kerchiefs, handkerchiefs, were very fine in texture. I durst swear they went on 10 pound. And then the poet says that I dare swear that they weighed 10 pounds. That on a Sunday weren upon her head, her horsen weren of fine scarlet reed. The poet says, I durst say they went on 10 pound. The poet says that she did have a lot of kerchiefs and they weighed as much as 10 pounds, means as much as 5 kg, almost 5 kg, that on a Sunday were run upon her head, that on a Sunday were upon her head, her horsen were of fine scarlet reed. And then the poet says that as far as Her stockings are concerned, they were made of fine scarlet red, full straight, tied. They were very closely laced, and shoes full, moist, and new. And even the shoes that she would wear, they were quite good and new. Bold was her face was very bold, and fair and red of hue. Her face was very bold, fair, and red in color. She was a worthy woman all her life. And she was a very worthy woman all her life. Housebound at church door she had five. And look at the irony. Worthy woman, how she was worthy? She was worthy because she did have five husbands at the church gate, besides the other companions that she had in her in her life. Housebound at church door she had five. She had five husbands at the church door, without other company in youth. Now the poet says that I am not counting the other companions that she did have in her youth. But right now, at the church gate, she did have as many as five husbands. Not courting other company in youth, but thereof needeth not to speak as north. But then the poet says that now there is no need to speak of that right now. And thrice had she been at Jerusalem. And then the poet says that she had been to Jerusalem thrice. She had passed many a strange stream. And then the poet says that she had passed many a foreign sea. At Rome she had been, and at Bologna she had been to both the places. She had been to Rome and she had been to Bologna. In Galis at Saint John, James and at Cologne, and she was also in Galatia at Saint James and at Cologne also. She could much tell of wandering by the way. And then the poet says that she knew much about wandering by the way. Means she has traveled widely, and since she has traveled widely, she knew almost all the places. Gap toothed was she, soothly for to say. Now look at the appearance. Earlier the poet says that she was somewhat deaf, and now the another feature which makes her despicable. And how she becomes despicable? Gap toothed was she, soothly for to say. The poet says that she had teeth widely set apart, truly to say. Gap teeth, कुछ दांत गिरे हुए थे. Upon an Amberley easily she sat. Amberley means a pacing horse, and she was riding on a pacing horse. Ampled well and on her head and hat, and she was wearing a large wimple, and on her head she was wearing a hat. As broad is a buckler or or a targe, and this hat was as large as a buckler or a shield. A foot mantle about her hips large, and then there was an overskirt about her large hips also that she was wearing, and on her feet a pair of sports sharp, and then on her feet there was a pair of sharp spurs also. In fellowship well could she laugh and carp, and then the poet says that in fellowship she well knew how to laugh and chatter. Of remedies of love she knew perchance. The poet says that she knew about the remedies of love, for she could of that art the old dance. For she knew the old dance of that art also. What, which is the art that the poet is talking about? The poet is talking about the tricks of the trade. Means the trade that she was dealing in, she very well knew the tricks belonging to that trade. After having talked about these commoners, the poet is talking about a person from the field of religion. The poet says that there was a person from the field of religion also. A good man was there of religion, a good man was there of religion, and was a poor person of a town, but rich he was of fully thought and work. He was also a learned man, a clerk. Clerk does not mean the clerk as we mean it today, but the clerk used to mean a scholarly person that Christ's gospel truly would preach, truly, Truly, truly would preach. His parishioners devoutly would he teach. Benign he was and wonder diligent, and in adversity full patient, and switch he was prieved oft see days, full loath were him to curson for his tea days, but rather would he eve out of doubt unto his poor parishioners about of his offering and eke of his substance. He could in he could in little thing have sufficiency. Wha- Why was his parish and house far asunder? Far asunder means far apart, but he ne left not for rain, ne thunder. Thunder means thunder. In sickness nor in mischief to visit the forest in Paris, Machel and light. Upon his feet and in his hand a staff, this noble ensample to his sheaf. Sheaf means disciples. He F means gave, that first he wrote and afterward he taught. Out of the gospel he the words quote, and this figure he added eke thereto, that if gold rust, what shall iron do? For if a priest be foul on whom we trust, no wonder is a lewd man to rust, and shame it is if a priest take keep, Seaten, shepherd, and a clean shape, well ought a priest ensample for to Eve, but by his cleanse, how that his lips should leave. He set not his benefice to hire, and lead his ship encumbered in the mire, and ran to London unto St. Paul's to seek him a chauntry for souls, or with a br- brotherhood to been withhold, but dwelt at home and kept well his fold, so that the wolf ne made it net miscarry. Miscarry means go wrong. He was a shepherd and not a mercenary. And though he holy were and virtuous, he was too sinful man, not despicious, ne of his speech dangerous, ne digne, but in his teaching discreet and benign, to draw folk to heaven by fairness, by good example, this was his business. But it was but it were any person obstinate, whatsoever of high or low estate, high or low estate, him would he snibben sharply for the nonies. Snobbing means rebuke or snub. A bed priest I trow that nowhere says. He waited after no pomp and reverence. He made him a spiced conscience. But Christ lure means preachings or teachings, and his apostles 12 he taught, but first he followed it himself. And now in these lines, the poet is talking about his drawing the portrait of the person. And it is the poet has depicted that although there was corruption in the field of church, and yet there were some people who had kept the system going on. And the person is one of them, who stands for simplicity, sincerity, religiosity, dutifulness, and all the other virtues that belong to the field of religion. This is a character without any tinge of irony or satire. A good man was there of religion. The poet calls him a man of religion. The poet says that there was a good man and he was a man of religion and was a poor person of a town. And then the poet says that he was a poor person of the town, but rich he was of fully thought and work. And the poet says that he was rich as far as the holy thought and work is concerned. He was also a learned man, a clerk, and then the poet says that he was a learned man also, and a clerk means he was a scholar too. That Christ gospel truly would preach, and he would preach the gospel of that Christ very well. His parishioners devoutly would he teach, and then he would very devoutly teach his parishioners. Benign he was and wonder diligent. He was very gracious and wonderfully diligent also, and in adversity is full patient. And he was very patient in adversity, and which he was he proved of see days, and such he has proven himself many times. Means that he was a person who did have enough patience, was proved by him on several occasions. Full loath were him to curson for his tea day. He was very reluctant to excommunicate the people for the payment of tithe. Tithe was the tax that was that was imposed on the people by the church. So he would not excommunicate anyone. He was always reluctant to excommunicate the people for the sake of taxes, but rather would he out of doubt, but rather he would give. There is no doubt unto his poor parishioners about. He says that as far as the poor parishioners of the town is concerned, he would go to the extent of helping them if they were not able to pay their tithes of his offering and eke of his substance. He would help them from his own offerings and from the other substance, from the other sources of income, from the other income that he would receive from the people. He could in little thing have sufficiency. He knew how to have sufficiency in few possessions. Means his needs were not so many. He did have only very few needs. He knew how to have sufficiency in few possessions. Wide was his parish and houses far asunder. His parish was very wide and the houses far apart. But he ne left not for rain ne thunder. But then the poet says that although the houses were very scattered, the houses of the parishioners, but then he would visit them almost every day, and for that purpose he would neither know the rain or the thunder. That even if the weather was not good, he would make it a point to visit the parishioners the day he had fixed for them. In sickness nor in mischief to visit, neither would he forget to visit these people even when he was sick or when there was trouble to visit them. The fairest in the parish much and light. Now the poet says that he would visit everyone, even those people who were living far away in the parish, even those people who were of a very high rank, and even those people who were very low in rank. He would visit every one of them. Upon his feet and in his head a staff, and the poet says that he would go on foot, and in his hand he will always have a staff. This noble ensample to his chief he gave. The poet says that he gave a noble example to his ship. Ship means followers. That first he wrote and afterward he taught. That he taught them a principle that first practice and then teach. And this principle he would apply to himself first. Whatever he would teach those people, he would try to apply those things to himself first. Out of the gospel he the words quote. And the poet says that he took those words out of the gospel, and this figure he added eke thereto. And this metaphor he would add there also. And what was the metaphor that he's talking about now? That if gold rust, what shall iron do? And he would say that if the gold rusts, Iron can't help. And therefore, what was the gold? The gold was the person himself. And therefore, he would say that he has to keep himself pure. He has to follow the good things first, the good practices first, and then has to preach these things to the parishioners. Very often, he will give his own example by quoting this metaphor. For if a priest be foul on whom we trust, and then he would add that if a priest is foul, 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 whom the parishioners will trust. No wonder is a lewd man to trust, and certainly he would say that they cannot trust a layman. It is no wonder for a layman to go bad, and shame it is if a priest take keep, and it is a shame if a priest is concerned with that. A sheep shepherd and a clean sheep, and then the poet says that he did have because thereby the shepherd will be stained, and if the shepherd is stained, then he would not be able to create a clean following. Bail out a priest ensample for to Eve, and therefore he would believe in the principle that the priest must be an example before the parishioners by his cleanness, how that his sheep should live. And he would believe in the principle that by his purity, by his cleanliness, he must put forward an example of living to the parishioners. He set not his benefice to hire, he did not rent out his benefice, and lead his sheep encumbered in the mire, and leave his sheep encumbered in the mire, and ran to London and to St. Paul's. And he would run to London and to St. Paul's to seek him a chauntry for souls. And what he would do? To seek an appointment as a chauntry priest. Chauntry priest means the person who is praying for the patron, or and who were the patron for him, the commoners, all right, the parishioners, or with a burden to be in withhold, or to be hired by a guild, but dwell at home and kept well his fold. But at every cost, he would keep his ship in the fold, means he would never allow his followers to go astray from the path, so that the wolf made it not miscarry, so that the followers may not go wrong. He was a shepherd and not a mercenary. And then the poet says that he was a shepherd, he was not a hireling, like the other characters in the church, like the monk and the prioress. And though he holy were and virtuous, although the poet says that he was very holy and virtuous, he was to sinful man not despicious. That he was not scornful to the sinful people. The poet says that he was very holy and virtuous, but at the same time, he was not sinful or scornful. He was not scornful to the sinful people. Ni of his speech dangerous, ni digne, neither was he domineering, nor haughty in his speech, but in his teaching discreet and benign. But all the time in his teaching he was courteous and kind to draw folk to heaven by fairness. And what he would do, he will draw the folk to heaven by gentleness. Means all the manners that were deployed by him to draw the folk to heaven, they were the manners of gentleness. By good example, this was his business. And then the poet says that this is by good example, this was his business. But it were any person obstinate, but the poet says that if there was a person who was obstinate, whatsoever of high or low state, maybe that he was of a very high or very low status, him would he snub sharply for the nonis. He would snub him when he would tend to obstinate on at the very moment, at the very time. A better placed I trow that nowhere none was. The poet says, I believe that nowhere is there a better priest than the person about whom I have talked. He waited after no pomp and reverence. He expected no pomp and reverence from the people. no ne maked him a spiced conscience, and neither would he make his conscience very fastidious, but Christ lure and his apostles 12, but then he would follow the teachings of Christ and his 12 apostles every inch. But Christ's teaching and his 12 apostles he taught, but first he followed it himself, but then first he would follow the teachings himself and then he would preach them to the people. Now, to conclude, I can say that the poet has depicted person as a character, as a person who was very dutiful, who was very sincere, who was very committed, and who was discharging the duties that were given to him very faithfully. I stop it here. From tomorrow, we would begin from line number 529, and that would be the character of the plowman. Along with the person, now the plowman is not the person belonging to the field of religion, but he comes from the field of a commoner. And the poet, in order to, as I said, even the blood relationship and the appearance, they convey the meaning. Now, since the person is a good man, the poet establishes a blood relationship of the plowman with the person and thereby have communicated the meaning that he was equally good as the person was. I stop it here. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.